Venezuela is facing serious charges in the U.S. after a dramatic capture in Caracas. Today, he appeared in court to plead his case.
Nicolas Maduro and his wife were arraigned in a New York courtroom this morning on federal charges including drug trafficking and conspiracy. The two were apprehended during a U.S.-led raid at the presidential palace in Caracas just 2 days ago. Maduro claimed in court that he's been kidnapped and still considers himself the rightful leader of Venezuela.
I think what President Maduro said in court speaks for itself.
The U.S. government has warned Maduro's former deputy, now acting President Delcy Rodriguez, of possible consequences if she doesn't cooperate. The president has also left open the possibility of another strike on Venezuela. A poll of over 1,000 people conducted by the Washington Post finds that Americans are nearly evenly split over the U.S. military operation that captured Maduro. About 4 in 10 approve of sending forces in, a similar number disapprove, and nearly 1 in 5 are unsure. Over 6 in 10 Americans say such an operation should have required congressional approval before action was taken. Well, we're joined tonight by Arizona Congressman Greg Stanton. Congressman, good to see you. I appreciate your time and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Very few people would characterize Maduro as a good president. He was a dictator and a bad guy. But does that give America the green light to go into Caracas, Venezuela, attack the capital, and kidnap the president and his wife?
Well, first off, Maduro is a bad guy. He was not the appropriate president of Venezuela. He lost the last election. Mr. Gonzalez should have been the proper president of Venezuela. The fact that he is facing justice in the United States is a good thing. But how you go about that is incredibly important. And so the truth is, if the president of the United States wanted to take an act of war against Venezuela, and this, no doubt this was an act of war, bombing their ships, bombing the country, sending in troops to get Maduro, there's no question that's an act of war. Under our Constitution, he has to come before Congress. That didn't happen, and that is very, very problematic.
Well, this isn't the first time the president has done something without congressional approval. At what point does Congress step up and say, this is not going to work for us, taking actions on your own, almost a rogue action, without going through the proper channels, namely Congress?
First off, I hope and pray that Republicans will join with Democrats this week. There's going to be a vote in the United States Senate and a vote in the House shortly thereafter, specifically telling the president no more military actions, no more acts of war in Venezuela without gaining congressional approval. Let's explain why that's important. Think about the message we send to Putin in Russia, who claims that Zelensky is a criminal and not the proper president of Ukraine. We don't want to give him license to go in and snatch Zelensky. Same thing with China and Taiwan. The president of China thinks that Taiwan is a rogue state that should fully belong inside China, governed by Beijing. That's not United States policy. We don't want to give them license to do the same. That would be disastrous in Arizona with TSMC, the Taiwanese semiconductor, up in North Phoenix. So we have to be very careful about that. And now the president is openly talking about unilateral military action in Mexico, our next door neighbor just to the south of Arizona, going after those drug cartels without the support of the Mexican government or Mexican president. What a disaster that would be for our trade relationship and our security partnership with Mexico.
Pardon me for feeling a little bit pessimistic about this, but in your opinion, is this really about drugs, or is it about Venezuela's oil? And can we just go in there and take it because we want it?
Well, look, Maduro was under indictment inside the United States, and that happened during the Biden administration. He deserves the fate that he has gotten right now, facing justice inside the United States of America. However, how the president has acted since that moment, saying that the United States is, quote, running Venezuela, inviting the American oil companies to basically take over the oil industry in Venezuela and run the industry, which, by the way, obviously major customers are China and Russia. we have to be very careful about putting American companies in that very, very tenuous position. Look, there's a long history of the United States engaging in foreign actions, military actions, because of oil. We saw that in Iraq years ago. What a disaster that was for the United States. Thousands of our soldiers lost their lives. It cost the taxpayers of America tens of billions of dollars. When you go into a country, take out the leader of that country and have no plan for what to do with it, and just claim sort of willy-nilly, hey, my Trump team, we're running this country, that's a formula for disaster.
Congressman, as we head into the new year, are you disappointed optically with the way the world sees America right now?
Of course. I mean, look, we are trying to win an economic battle with China. That is our number one economic adversary on this globe. We need to win that economic battle. We need to remain the number one economy on planet Earth. We can't do that if we keep sticking a fork in the eye of our allies by tariffing our Asian partners, by tariffing our European partners, and tariffing our next door neighbors in Canada and Mexico. That makes the United States isolated on this globe, and we will not be successful in winning that economic battle unless we use our most important power, and that is American diplomacy and American values. That's how the United States has best led the globe in the past.
That's why we've been the world leader. Congressman, I appreciate it, and I want to point out to our viewers that we did invite Congressman Andy Biggs and Congressman David Schweikert on. They were not able to join us. I appreciate your time, Congressman, and again, Happy New Year.
I barely made it. I just got off a flight from Phoenix to Washington. I'm glad I was able to be on. Have a great one.
Thanks.